Hi, it's John Hawthorne from Delaware Valley Outdoors, and we're here at the Greater Philadelphia Outdoor Show at the Expo Center in Oaks. I know I'm going to get that right one of these times. And with us is one of the legends of bow hunting, Myles Keller. Myles, it's great that you join us. Thank you very much for taking the time.
I'm glad to be here.
Myles, you've had a tremendous history in bow hunting, and certainly one of the legends of the sport. It's great to finally meet you. Wanted to just kind of talk about, maybe kind of looking back a little bit over your history. You shared with me earlier that your first deer was taken in 1962, so it's been 50 years.
Yep.
Do you remember that first deer?
Oh, yes.
What can you tell me about it?
Well, I shot my first deer, and back then there wasn't much of anybody around to show you anything. and we had a farm, lived in Claremont, and where I maybe heard of the old herders. They used to have the herders catalog and stuff years ago, and I could drive over there. It was about 13 miles to get I bought an old recurve out of a grab bag barrel over there and started
What did that cost? Do you mind if I ask? Do you remember?
I think it was like $12.
Okay.
But and that was only a 40-pound bow, and it's with wooden arrows, and so earlier stages of hunting, I guess, until you learn some things. I was sitting on a tree stand, I'm homemade, and a woods on each side of a bean field, and I decided that, it's of course prime time I look back at now, but I'm not really seeing anything here. I think it'd be better over across the field, over at my other stand. In the meantime, I'm trying to get across the soybeans to get over to my other stand. A deer jumps the fence, a little 10-point buck, jumped the fence, and he's in the bean field with me, so I'm long story short, we managed to crawl up and down the bean rows until I got within shooting distance.
So you're saying your first deer with a bow was on the ground?
Yeah.
You snuck up on him?
Well, it wasn't intentional, but we were both in the bean field, and I popped up and got a shot. So
that's impressive. I think I've only taken one deer on the ground, but probably like you said, that was by accident. So that's not an easy thing to do, is to take a deer by the ground.
Yeah.
50 years has gone by. Obviously, you're well known. You've got tremendous numbers of Pope and Young record book deer. You mind recalling what is your best deer that you've taken so far?
Well, highest scoring one is, I'm talking net. Everybody's talking gross nowadays, but is 177 and 5/8, and that was in Manitoba. But the one I really I think is unique and I really appreciate the most. Well, I appreciate them all, but was the 8-point. It was only 8 points, but held the Wisconsin state record for 13 years.
Wow!
And that's one heck of an 8-pointer.
How so? Wide, mass, just unique?
Just to have only 8 points and score 175.
That's got to be a heck of an 8-pointer.
That qualifies for Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett. So.
Wow, and that's difficult to do, with a bow kill. Tell me about, other deer. Like when you think back, some of the deer. I mean, we talk numbers and scores, but memorable hunts. Like that first one you shared in the bean field. Do you have other hunts that really stick out for you?
Oh, they all do. Actually, the 8-pointer, we were up just hunting to fill out our tags. We hunt our really good spots we consider in southern Wisconsin or in central Wisconsin. And so I was going to meet two of my friends. They're from northern Minnesota, and we all go across and meet up in the northern part of Wisconsin. Because I see a lot of deer, and we can fill our tags and have a good time.
Sure.
And I stopped in Webster, Wisconsin at a little grocery store, and while I was waiting in line, I got to talking to this guy, and the guy's a little strange, as the elevator didn't go quite to the top. But in the course of talking to him, he was talking about, because I had a little bit of camel hat or something on, and he says, "Are you bow hunting?" And I said, "Yeah." He started telling me about this huge 8-pointer that he sees all the time. He lives with his mother, and actually he says, "You can come out with me right now." And he says, "I'll park on the road, and you'll be able to see him cross the road."
No way.
So I thought, man, what else? I'm up here just basically to shoot little deer or a deer,
Right.
And so I've got nothing to lose, so I go out. I had some supplies. That's what I stopped for. So we sat in his truck, parked alongside the road, waiting for this deer, and we're having some sandwich meat and some crackers, and well, needless to say, the sun set and there was no deer crossing the road. But he was vehement that
he was there.
Yep. And so I got back to camp. Well, some of the guys from north, they get over in that area and say, "Well, he really is a strange cat, and you're over there." I said, "Well, it's some new land to hunt. His mother's got some land,
okay,
and we're up here and not trophy hunting anyway, so I go over there." Well, About 3 days into this, I got a chance to see the 8-pointer the first time. I was just shocked. It was on the opposite side of the field from where I was at. There was a kind of a cut or bulldozed area, and so I'm getting excited now. Well, back at camp, the guys are giving me all kinds of torment now. They actually accuse me of having an affair with his mother and all this stuff. That's what you're really going over to hunt for. And I didn't put on too much because I knew that if I started talking about that deer, I'd have company over there.
Right, sure.
So
all of a sudden, be getting very crowded over there.
But we played cat and rat, and I ended up shooting that deer on the ground also.
Is that right?
Yeah, I had seen this deer go on the same course, walking down a strip or opening down to another, like a U-shaped stretch of woods with an opening in the middle. He walked down the one side, I'm on the other side. This went on for days. And I'm getting close to Christmas, and I know that I got to take a course of action. So about 10 o'clock or so, I'd seen that deer go through. So, and it's really cold, and I thought, well, I'm going to walk down that edge of the woods and then go over and try to intersect his trail or find another place to set up or whatever. And this is with recurve again too, and I'm slipping through the woods a little bit at a time, and I just like catch some movement, but I couldn't figure out what for sure, and I stopped. And long story short, I kept going up a little closer and a little closer, and I'm getting in where I feel I can shoot, just taking my time. But I couldn't figure out what this deer was doing. But see the movement of the antlers and stuff.
Okay, but you couldn't really ID the body or make
no, I just make out. Now I'm getting up where I can see him, and oh man, it's the 8-pointer. Now I know it's the 8-pointer. So I couldn't figure what he was doing. So I was waiting until it looked like he was looking the other way or distracted, and I drew and shot and made a good hit on him.
What kind of range? How far?
I think it was about 25 yards.
Okay.
20 yards.
With a recurve, though?
Recurve, yeah.
And you're using sights on that recurve? Or
No, I use sights. But I was excited. But what he was doing is actually, there was a bunch of acorn ridge there. Yeah. And he's pawing up and digging up the acorns. That's where he's getting the movement.
And he never knew you were there?
No.
Never knew. That's impressive. Now, you mentioned that at least half of the deer you've taken have been with a recurve.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there. I haven't taken time to figure it out, but it's right in that range. Yeah.
So somewhere along the line, early 80s or so, you did start shooting compounds.
Yeah.
Okay, and what do you
basically
think?
that was, part of it was I had a chance when the XI Bow Company contacted me, and so I went on the road a little bit for them, and I had a good relationship with them for quite some time. So
well, that's great. That's great. Is it? I mean, we talked a little bit about getting sponsorships. How did you become so well known? And you mentioned that a lot of it was just word of mouth. You were killing some impressive deer, and kind of word got out. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Actually, there was a writer, Jeff Murray, and he did articles for Outdoor Life at the time and whatever, and wanted to do an interview, and so. Well, then it wasn't long after that, a writer from Field and Stream contacted me and said, well, we would like to do an interview. I said, well, I did one for Outdoor Life, so you maybe went. Well, their attitude was, I probably shouldn't say this, but so long ago it doesn't make any difference. But, well, he says, the way they operate, we'll have our story out before theirs anyway. So, well, coincidentally, they were wrong. They both, it's never happened, I don't think, as far as I've been told, where Field and Stream and Outdoor Life will do an article on a guy.
Don't tell me.
At the same time.
No way. It came out the same month?
Same month. Same month. So that was a boost, I guess. I was known after that quite well.
Well, that's cool. We've talked about the transition from recurves to compounds. I know one of the hot button issues these days in bow hunting is crossbows. And, it seems like such a polarizing issue. People are, really for them, or people are really against them. I'd be curious on your thoughts on the subject.
It's kind of a cliche, but I think it bears some thought. Us sportsmen had better try to work things out and stay together.
Right.
There's some misconceptions, I feel, and I'll give an example. I'm prejudiced when the compounds first come out, and we tease the guys with their training wheels, it's this and that, and things kind of progress. And I pull both ways. I want us all to work together. I will say this, that I don't feel that crossbow is as big an advantage as some people think. I mean, they say 150-pound crossbow or this or that. The biggest advantage is to be able to have it cocked and then be able to not have to draw it and just shoot it.
Not having the
But
movement.
as far as speed, the compound bows, the guys are shooting 70 pounds or so, are shooting a lot of them in the 300s.
Well over 300.
And the crossbow may be 150 pounds, but the power stroke, they shoot that shorter arrow. The string only moves maybe half or a third of the distance that a compound moves. So the compound pushes that arrow longer, gives it more kinetic energy and speed. So it's, so I don't know. I'm torn, but I think it's coming as you look around.
Sure.
And there was, like I say, myself, I was against compound when it came, but.
And that's, Pennsylvania for years, you couldn't use them, or you needed a special permit. You had to have a disability permit. Now that has changed. New Jersey, again, you needed a special permit, but now that has changed. And as you say, I think we're kind of on the cusp of it becoming, very well accepted.
And I think, some people, when they actually get to using it, and realize there's limitations on the crossbow, and I'm not necessarily for it. So don't everybody be calling me up. But as I get older, I get a little more open-minded.
Okay. Well, I would imagine back in, '62, there wasn't a whole lot of people bow hunting, would be my guess. And we kind of saw the sport grow a little bit, but I've heard statistics that, hunting is kind of starting to tail off, and even bow hunting.
Yeah, and we can't be fighting amongst ourselves. Another example, the muzzle loader.
Right.
I don't use them, and I have nothing against it. But that's a lot different. The one-shot muzzleloader, or inline muzzleloader, you call it now, is a lot different than the old flintlock, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
so
a significant advantage.
So we have these differences of within our sport, but we just kind of got to get together.
Let's see what unifies us, and not see what divides us.
Yeah.
So I was looking through some statistics, and I came across this article where a trailer of your deer head mounts was stolen like 20 years ago or so.
Yeah, we had a miscommunication. I asked XI, my sponsor at the time, and doing a show in Dallas, and they said, no, bring them all. I said, well, I don't think you're going to have room, well, we've got a huge booth, which they did, a huge area, but no. So we ended up using only 9 of them, and the rest of them were in the trailer. And they took the trailer and all. It was
my gosh! And nothing ever heard or seen came of that.
I've had some tips. Matter of fact, somebody had taken a trailer, a red trailer, just like mine. It was a 28-foot trailer, across into Canada illegally. I had reps that we knew up there that everybody was watching at that time, and they noticed this trailer parked in a truck stop for days in Canada.
Okay.
And so they ran the numbers and stuff on that particular trailer, and caught this guy accidentally by looking for my trailer that he'd taken it across the border illegally.
But it wasn't your trailer, though.
No, it wasn't.
But it wasn't. Well, okay, that's such a shame. I can just imagine the mememories that have been lost.
Yep.
From that. I'm really
but,
sorry. But
I balanced it out and I got over it. There for a while, I stewed like a spoiled baby, but. Then you got to stop and remember, some of these young kids that have cancer or all this and that, and then you put it in perspective, then it's not so bad.
I know you've done some charity work for some cancer organizations as well.
Yes, so. I've had my head shaved for the ASL Cancer Fund, and
That's terrific. That's great. Now, I know born and raised in Minnesota, correct?
Yeah.
Still call Minnesota home?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, of course, we're talking whitetails here. You've taken some other trophies. Can you talk about them a little bit? What else do you like to hunt with?
Oh, I like to hunt. My first time elk hunting, hunting on my own. I didn't use a guide, but that was in Colorado. I got the first place elk for award from Colorado Bowhunters.
Wow, hunting by yourself without a guide.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
And at state record bear, Minnesota or Wisconsin. Minnesota, and the state record whitetail in Wisconsin.
Awesome.
So
you talk a lot about the whitetails in Wisconsin. What's the whitetail situation in Minnesota?
It's good. myself, what I think they could do to improve it is which they're not going to do, but so far, is to move the season back so it's not in the rut. At the peak of the rut, shotgunners are out there and the bucks are very vulnerable. And you take a state like Illinois or Iowa; those seasons are all later,
right after the rut,
and that is one thing I think can do more for having big bucks in your state than anything.
Now, you mentioned Illinois and Iowa, both of them shotgun-only states. What is Minnesota? Are you allowed to hunt with a rifle in Minnesota?
Northern Minnesota, it's rifle.
Okay.
About halfway up the state I think it turns over.
Because I've heard that people have suggested that one of the reasons why Iowa and Illinois are so good is because you're not pecking them off at 250 or 300 yards with a rifle, and you're kind of limited a little bit.
Yep.
So, well, Myles, listen, I really appreciate you stopping by. It's been great talking to you. And just really appreciate your time. It's been great to get to know you a little bit.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hold tight there. For Delaware Valley Outdoors, I'm John Hawthorne from the Greater Philadelphia Sports Show at the Oaks.